Nelson.
Here.
Taylor.
Here.
Hoffman.
Present.
Spiz is also absent with notice. Gershenson.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Hoffman, would you kindly lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance today?
Yes, the Lone Ranger will. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes dated August 20th, 2024.
So moved.
Commissioner Lube, seconded by Commissioner Taylor. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The minutes have been approved. I would also entertain a motion to approve today's agenda moved by Commissioner Lube, seconded by Commissioner Taylor. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Agenda's been approved. Anyone from the public wishing to address us on anything on the agenda today, please come to the head of the table. No one? Going once, going twice. Okay. Let's move on then to our regular agenda. Parks and Recreation is going to go first. We've got one item from them today. I would entertain a motion to recommend to the board item 9 Mile Task Force Memorandum of Understanding, moved by Commissioner Hoffman, seconded by Commissioner Taylor. Aye.
Good morning. So this is the next step in our 9 Mile pathway project that we've been working on with the communities along 9 Mile for the last about 18 months now, maybe more. So what this is in front of you today is a memorandum of understanding between the 6 communities that are kind of the western or the eastern portion of the 9 Mile project and Oakland County. Essentially, it's a non-binding agreement, but it really is intended to just show the intent for the communities in the county to continue to work on this project, to implement the vision for 9 Mile that was outlined in that feasibility study. So it acknowledges a voluntary cooperative association between the parties and outlines our intent to work together to continue to plan, design, construct, and promote the 9 Mile corridor. So a couple of exciting things are going on right now with the project. We have kicked off the branding logo development kind of marketing component for the corridor, using Crimson Agency here at the county to do that work, which is a large project to try to get 10 communities to rally around a logo and a brand for a pathway, but everyone's very engaged and very excited about it, and it's going really well so far, so we're excited about that. And we have also started the feasibility study phase 2 to bring in our western communities, so Novi, Northville, South Lyon, and Lyon Township, to bring them into that plan. So we've continued that process with OHM, and we're about halfway through that as well. So by the end of the year, we will have those 4 communities sign on to this MOU as well that we'll bring back and do an amendment once their portion of the study is complete. So again, this just kind of signifies our intent to keep working with the communities on this project. Oakland County Parks will act as the convener and keep the communities coming together on a regular basis. Hopefully support some grant applications in the future to implement some of this work. And then I just wanted to mention that the chair is planning to appoint 3 Board of Commissioner members to that committee. I don't think they've been identified yet, but he's working on that, so that's part of the resolution as well. And then just one more thing to add, SEMCOG has reached out and asked for us to present this project at their General Assembly in October, which is very exciting. So if any of you are there, we'll be talking about the project there.
Discussion? Super easy then. All right. Motion on the table is to recommend to the board. Madam Clerk, would you please prompt that vote?
Yeas, 0 nays.
There we go. Thank you very much. I love this. Let's move on then. I would entertain a motion to recommend to the board item HR's hybrid workplace policy amendment, moved by Commissioner Erickson Gold, seconded by Commissioner Lubes. All right, Team HR.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
How is everybody?
Good.
Good. I love that. Thank you. Again, it was highlighted by Commissioner Johnson. We are talking about hybrid today. I really want to focus on one. I came in a couple of years ago and I really wanted to make a lot of changes with HR. And to me and to my HR group who's also here, I feel like we've made a lot of great changes. 1 for the county, 2 for HR, but our goal is to continue that. So I'm looking forward to a lot more changes happening. So today, here's another one that we wanted to kind of bring up to your attention and think about more. And as you think about it, my next goal as HR director and my team is to focus on Oakland County as an employer of choice. And what I mean by employer of choice, meaning I want people to come to us and fight to come to us, right? That we have to push people to say, you know what, we're a great place to be, and that's my goal moving forward as the future. With that, I want to kick off again, and as we go through this a little bit, I want to keep in your mind that employer of choice as we talk through it, because that's again what our goal is. And our goal here today, one more time, is to remove, we have a sunset of the hybrid policy. I think it's October 31st. We would like to remove that, really to be that employer of choice, right? And Heather and I are gonna go through a little more details on why we need it to be that employer of choice.
Is there a clicker?
Yeah, we're getting it.
Oh,
Still looking for it. I wish I could sing, but I can't.
she pulled it up, so maybe she could click it.
Yep. She can click it, that's
You can
fine.
use the keyboard as well.
Yeah, that's fine.
Until,
And you all have it as well.
there you go.
And you have this already, but I'm gonna highlight a few of them that are pretty really things that I wanna focus on to make us what we need to be. Healthy residents, these are our 6 out of our 8 strategic goals that Oakland County has put together. Hybrid work policy is really gonna help us achieve a lot of these goals. Some of the highlights are really the healthy residents. 71% of remote workers reported that they improved work-life balance. Again, this is all research that is detailed down here that we've identified. Gallup is a big one that we look at. 58% of our remote workers reported less burnout. And I think as we grow through a community, as we grow up, burnout for employees are very important to us, and we want to make sure our wellness is there. Skilled and educated workforce, here's again where we talk about employer choice. 79, almost 80% of our workforce states flexible work is a priority to them. Times have changed, we understand that, we know that, and we have to accommodate for that new group coming in. One of the big things that Oakland County and HR are focusing on is DE&I. More likely to leave. I mean, that's a big highlight. We don't want our people to leave. We want to be equitable for everybody. Environmental sustainability, as we do things, as we grow as a company, we want to reduce our carbon footprint. We're looking at almost 11 to almost 30% carbon reduction because of people's ability to work remote. Finally, we want to talk about organizational excellence. Almost 80%, again, 80% of our employees believe that flexible work options are a place that is a benefit to them. We're seeing that, and I want to highlight that unfortunately, we did a lot of hiring this year, and if there's any questions, we have our recruitment team. We lost a few people because of hybrid situations. Again, I'm not expecting us to be 100%, but hybrid is very important to us. Just a few other topics that I wanted to highlight to show competitive and show us again. I keep on saying it because I want to drain it in your head how important employer of choice is. 65% of organizations offer hybrid as a work option. Again, that's what we're competing against, right? And that's including private and public. So we're competing against those 2 organizations. As for Michigan, 80% of our employers are offering hybrid work. And then as in government, and this is nationwide, 61% of the government is providing hybrid. And then finally, 69% of organizations on our side, again, I'll highlight that as private and public, are 70% that are offering hybrid work. Again, our goal is to have people come to us as one of these organizations so we can show how important our people are to us. And we have been. I think we've worked very hard as an organization and HR to focus on our people, helping them grow. And this is another part of what we need to help achieve that goal. With that, I'm going to pass it on to Heather, who's going to talk a little bit more.
Thanks, Neil. If you haven't had a chance to explore the link here to this report, it really is fantastic. It's a great report about hybrid work and the state of hybrid work, and it really lays a good foundation for painting the picture of what we need to do to compete effectively and how we can create a workforce here for the future of Oakland County and really meet the forward-looking needs of our folks. There we go. So that kind of sets the stage of our competitive environment. Now I want to talk a little bit about what we're doing here at the county. And just to level set, when we speak about hybrid, what we mean, this is not 100% remote work. that doesn't exist here. Hybrid is a combination of days worked at home or a remote location and days worked here on site. And so I wanted to share with you, just to level set, that the vast majority of our employees are really working remote 2 or 3 days a week. And this gives you a count of individual contributors or employees compared to leadership and how many days they're working remotely. Sunil had mentioned diversity, equity, and inclusion has been really an important focus for us in the past few years. And so we wanted to highlight the potential impact that modifications to our hybrid work policy might have on this critical goal. As Sunil shared, the research shows that it affects that particular group of employees more so than others in terms of their preferences and what they're looking for in a workforce. Here at Oakland County, if our workforce is 11.7% Black, Indigenous, or people of color, 15% of our hybrid workforce is BIPOC. So changes to hybrid will inordinately affect that group of employees more so than the rest of the workforce. In terms of what our internal survey said about what how they value hybrid in their employment, what was startling is we did an internal survey to ask people that are currently working hybrid, not only how it affects you, how do you like it, is it good for your work-life balance, kind of some questions that we kind of felt like we knew the answers to, but we asked them anyways. So yes, people love hybrid. It enhances their work-life balance. It enhances their job satisfaction. It's really important to them for a number of reasons. But then we did ask as well, would you look for other work if this were removed as an option for Oakland County? And it's really kind of startling when you look at individual contributors or employees. I've highlighted and if you look down, it's how many days of remote work they have. So at the top, you see employees, and I'll just highlight those working 3 remote days a week. In total, 68% said that they agree or strongly agree that they would look for another job. And when you look at our leadership, this gave me a bit of a gut punch, because when you look at our leadership who's working 3 days a week remote, 76% said that they would start looking for another job. So that's the reality that we're working with here. We were forced to hybrid by pandemic. It's significantly evolved the way we work. It's created a different way of work that I don't think that toothpaste is going back in the tube. And this is not just for Oakland County. We're seeing struggles across the board of, for example, private companies that are trying to force people back to work. It's not working. When we did our inclusive benefits survey, this included employees who may or may not work hybrid. So we asked them about the importance of flexibility at work and the importance of a remote work option. What I'd like to highlight is how important flexible scheduling was noted for our workforce at large, because a lot of our employees do not have the option to have a hybrid work schedule. The nature of their work simply doesn't permit them to work remotely. But of those folks, flexibility was critically important. People still are looking for the ability to balance work-life demands. They're looking for a reasonable, work-life balance. The other thing I would highlight is 313 of the employees that responded to our inclusive benefits survey do work hybrid, but 822 said they wanted to. So there is a considerable desire for hybrid work, even if it's not available at this point for them. So I would just highlight this by way of saying, flexibility really is the future, I think, and to be that competitive employer of choice that Sunil is, setting our sights to. I think to the extent that we're able, we need to offer flexibility in our workforce. So that kind of lays the groundwork for what our competitive work environment looks like, what our internal reality is, and then we were charged with how do we begin to address equity? Because we highlighted employees who cannot work hybrid do have some different demands than employees who have the opportunity to work hybrid. So we've highlighted here a summary, and we've provided a more detailed table for you of some strategies that, should the commission opt to lift the sunset and make hybrid work a permanent policy for the county, We would like to pursue these policy initiatives to try to enhance the work-life balance for our on-site employees and provide more equity between those who can and cannot work hybrid. We'll highlight for you what we've already implemented, connecting employees to hybrid options where we want. We do have a robust opportunity for internal transfers, for people to find a better career fit here within the county for themselves. Our new iCIMS recruitment software launched just this week. It's our hope that that will enhance our ability to match people who may want to pursue a career option here at the county that has a remote work option, that we can match people who want that style of work to those positions. We also are safeguarding administrative fairness and consistency. What we heard through the survey process loud and clear was one thing that, sorry to be, people have beef with the feeling that things aren't being done fairly. So it's not necessarily maybe somebody can work remote and somebody can't, but they see there wasn't continuity in how things were being applied. So the last time that this commission updated our hybrid work policy, we incorporated some additional language that requires departments to have a departmental work plan, for example, so that all employees can see in black and white, does the department offer hybrid work? If it does, what are the parameters? How many days? Are there required collaboration days? Which classifications are eligible? And laid out, some more structure around how departments, if they choose to use hybrid, how they're going to administer that, so that we can tell our workforce that it is being done with fairness and consistency. So that's already been implemented. A couple other initiatives that came before the board in the last year that remain in place are the healthy workplace policy. That's the additional days off, if you'll recall, for people that have been exposed to serious contagious illness, COVID, RSV, flu. For people who work remote, they can maybe, and I just did it last week, I had an exposure, I'm good. But I could stay at home an extra day to make sure that I protected my colleagues in the workplace. People who work on site, are forced to take their time off. So healthy workplace policy offers them some additional paid leave days so that they can stay home and keep their workplace safe. We also clarified our emergency closure process so that only on-site employees would benefit from the incentives that are offered for coming in if there is an emergency closure at the county. So if there's an emergency closure and you can work from home, that's what you do. But people who must come on site, they have incentives for reporting in. Looking ahead, again, if it's the desire of the commission to lift the sunset and continue this as a permanent policy, we would look to add a floating holiday for on-site employees to, again, provide them with some more ability to find that work-life balance if they need to attend to an appointment, see a child's, parent-teacher conference, whatever you may have. They're not having to draw into their vacation time and annual leave. They can use that floating time for that. I'll highlight the floating holidays have no cash value, so it's not like this is a large economic impact. It's simply more time and flexibility made available to on-site employees. Probably the most, I think, I'll say interesting rather than controversial, is annual leave buyback. So current policy provides for employees to sell back their unused annual leave. Annual leave is a category of leave that does have cash value. We have seen, and I've included as an appendix to your memo, a table of all of these policy initiatives with the rationale, and at the bottom of that, I've offered you a history of what the annual leave buyback has cost the county, and you'll see a huge spike. And that was a year that we offered 2 buybacks because people couldn't use their annual leave time because of the pandemic. Nobody could travel, nobody could go anywhere. People had these large banks. So that was a spike. But then you'll see it kind of stayed high. And we believe that's because people who have the ability to work remote and hybrid are able to tend to certain work-life needs without drawing into their annual leave banks. So our suggestion, and one of the policy initiatives that we would like to pursue if the county chooses to lift the sunset, is to afford that annual leave buyback for on-site employees only. This would be a critical line in the sand with real dollars and cents value that we could say to our on-site employees, you have access to something that the hybrid folks don't. And it might help salve some of the, what we get and what they get feelings around this. One of the things we've also been exploring is, how do we start to build benefits and opportunities for on-site employees to meet their specific needs? And one of the things that we heard is people who must come to work every day on-site may have different needs, for example, daycare. Or if they need to care for an aging parent and they have to be away. So one of the things that we identified to explore in 2025 is Little Oaks, which we've not had a waiting list in a very, very long time. So please don't think this is, extraordinary, but we'd like to build in a protection that prioritizes our on-site employees. So should the day come that there's a waiting list at Little Oaks, someone who works 100% on-site here for the county would be prioritized on that waiting list over someone who works remote. Looking further down the road, some other policy initiatives that we would like to suggest the commission consider is to accrue, to front load, if you will, personal days. Right now, you accrue 5 per year up to 15. Irrespective of the needs of our on-site folks, we have found in recruitment this is a real challenge. People who come to the county, especially those who have a lot of work experience, they come in with not a lot of paid time off available to them. And we just met yesterday with an administrator, that there's a challenge in recruitment when you're trying to offer somebody 5 days and you're gonna accrue vacation over the next year. That's a turnoff. So we think front-loading these personal days could be helpful, not only to our on-site folks who need access to that time off to be flexible, but also for our recruitment needs. I'd highlight that, like floating holidays, personal time does not have cash value. So this would simply be another benefit for people who are on site to manage their time better and differently. Something that I'm particularly excited about is the opportunity to create some match program for dependent flexible spending accounts. We currently offer 2 types of flexible spending accounts. One is where you can save for the needs of your medical expenses in a tax advantage way. There's another one for dependent care, so for child care, for elder care, for different dependent care needs, again, to have a tax advantage. Again, thinking about the needs of our on-site folks, there may be an opportunity for the county through a match program to help fund some of that dependent care savings as a way to, again, better match the complement of our benefits for our on-site folks that are going to be a little bit different than our hybrid folks. And then the last 2 are really about, how can we work on maximizing flexibility for the folks who are on site? Is there a chance to have, early start days for people who need it, depending on, bus drop schedules or what have you? For some departments, that's just not gonna work. You need to work the hours that you work, somebody's waiting for you to get there. We get that. But in other settings, maybe somebody could start at 7:30 rather than 8. So we would wanna work with our colleagues throughout the departments to help them understand the flexibilities that are available, the pros and cons of that, and help them work through exploring that as a way to recruit, retain, and really maximize the morale, performance, and job satisfaction within their departments. Similarly, we know that some folks who work on site all of the time maybe don't have access to the best facilities or work implements, and we would simply want to urge departments that, for example, I highlighted, I have a sit-stand desk. Well, I work remote. I think if there's somebody full-time that needs a sit-stand desk and there's only money for one, they should get that. So I think there are ways that we can help departments think through how to make the workspace and the workplace for the on-site people, if they have to make those tough calls, to prioritize some of those. So that's what we've laid out by way of equity policies that we would like to further explore, if that is of interest to the commission.
Yeah, and in summary, as you can see, I mentioned before, we talked about changes. You can see highlighted, Heather did a great job explaining all those changes, current and future. And again, I'm gonna say this many times, you're gonna hear me over and over, employer choice. That's all I'm asking. That's what we wanna do. I'm proud to be here and I wanna make sure everybody else is. So I leave that in your hands and let us continue.
Okay. Questions, comments, concerns? Mr. Taylor.
Thank you. First of all, I'm happy to hear this. I do have an HR background and everything that you're saying is very true. I lived in both in corporate and government areas. So everything you're saying is great. I just have some things that I didn't see or hear. I didn't see your turnover rate. I mean, I know that what you're working on is retention. But the other side of that is how many people are leaving out the door. We have all these great programs and I know we have a lot of, I don't know what our hiring rate, and forgive me, I don't know. And we don't have to know on the board, but it helps me to understand everything that you're presenting. I'm totally behind, and I do love employer of choice. I just got a lot of things running, and you can stop me anytime, but on-site employees, does that also include your part-time? Because you have a lot of part-time people that work full-time, it's on-site full-time. So would these things also cover your part-time as well as the full-time?
So the merit rule right now makes a kind of bright line distinction between full-time and part-time employees. And our current merit rule prohibits us from providing certain benefits to part-time employees.
Okay.
One thing that 2025 is gonna be a big year. The merit rule is due for a comprehensive review and update, and that is something that is on our horizon. And that will certainly be part of it, how we treat our part-time folks with regard to benefits. Recent legislation has brought that into focus as well. So that's absolutely on the horizon.
Okay, so you're looking at it as a benefit and not just part of work policy type things, it's more of a benefit,
Well,
okay.
some of the floating holidays and that type of
Have to be,
Yep.
it has to be.
The flexible scheduling and some of the kind of optional things certainly could be done by departments immediately.
And I didn't see or hear overtime, how is that gonna be affected? Because some departments have higher overtime than others. Is the way you're presenting it now, will that help reduce that area? Because that's a concern for the finance, switch to that hat.
I appreciate you raising that point. Let me run back to turnover because we actually did run those numbers as a result of a question we had in our budget study. Our turnover rate is 8%. That's compared to an industry turnover rate in government is 18%. So we're pretty low with regard to turnover. We do anticipate, we watch closely our demographics, and we have a significant number of potential retirements coming up in the next few years. So that's why we're very, very aware.
Yeah.
And like I said, it hits us in the gut and keeps us up at night. What are we gonna do in 5 years to
5 years is
staff up?
gonna be a big one. There's gonna be a lot of retirements.
So we need to be ready to really put our best face forward to how we're gonna backfill if we lose a significant number. And then you said overtime. So with the additional paid time off, there is some reality that kind of a ripple effect could be if on-site folks have access to their PTO earlier in the year. For example, if we front load 10 days instead of 5, we add a floating holiday, that could drive some additional overtime. As part of our policy research and preparation, what we would do is definitely reach out to those stakeholders and work with our partners in finance to make sure that we can anticipate any impacts as accurately as possible.
And you answered the other one, I was like for how you're gonna backfill, are you planning ahead? The other thing is education and training. It's great to have all these things, but if the managers are not giving that information to the employees, it's really not gonna work because the employees still don't have that information. So what kind of ways are you getting this to the employees as well as training the managers to say to our employees, okay, we have this new program coming out or whatever, or your new hires when you're onboarding, how is it being presented in your department to attract, retain and these employees once we get them here? And if I'm asking too many questions, we can talk offline.
I love that. We, the last time that we updated our hybrid policy last year, we had lunch and learns, and we had hundreds of people attend those. They really wanted to learn about hybrid, what it meant, what the policy was, what the departmental work plans were gonna require. We had great attendance and participation at those. And we've been actively through our learning and engagement group and really trying to engage with our workforce so that they understand what's available to them and how to fully utilize it and to understand what our vision is for the future of HR. Learning engagement also has a really robust onboarding program now, and they're working with departments hand in glove to make sure that new employees really fully understand it's not just your paycheck. There's so much more to Oakland County than that. Our benefits are exceptional. And we want to make sure that they understand the value of that and that it really can't be beat in the market because we feel like that's our brand and that's our competitive edge.
And word of mouth really helps you in that. And I also wanted to commend you, the survey response is really great. Usually we don't get that many responses.
No, that was great.
We just don't. To hear that you've got over 300 people responding is great. So whatever you're doing there, please continue. And I'm gonna shut.
I do want a quick comment. So you asked about the hiring rate. We'll get that information for you and send it to the group.
Commissioner Nelson and then Commissioner Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the information you presented today, especially the PowerPoint. It's always nice. You kept it short and sweet too, which is always a big bonus. It's clear that there's a lot of moving parts, obviously, right? With the hybrid work policy, and in addition to the proposed changes that potentially will affect employees today, there also sounds like there's a lot of changes into the future as well. So with that being said, can you help me better understand and clarify your department, so HR's request to authorize the HR department to pursue the companion policies and practices to enhance flexibility and work-life balance for on-site employees? More specifically, I interpret that as with all these changes that are potentially coming down, given the passage of this, I read that as you don't have to come back to the board for changes. So can you clarify what authorizing HR to pursue the companion policies and practices means?
Actually, the kind of the opposite of that. Our feeling was, we didn't want to be so bold as to show up here with policies in hand to recommend to you before you even decide if you want to lift a sunset. So what we did commit to is to provide the board with some idea of equity solutions for how we're going to address, if we choose to go forward on a permanent basis with hybrid work as a piece of our toolkit. How do we recognize and account for these changes and the impacts on equity that it may have between those who can and cannot work hybrid? And so authorizing us to pursue these policy options would let us engage in that iterative process of reaching out to stakeholders, working with our union groups, working with employees, doing the background work that we need to do to create recommended policy to bring back to the board. But we didn't want to show up here policies in hand and solutions in hand before we even knew if this was a direction the board wanted us to take.
Okay, thank you. Last question. How many total employees do we have here in Oakland County?
Full-time and part-time? About 5,000, we'll give or take 5,000.
So out of 5,000 employees, how many employees completed the survey?
The hybrid work survey, we sent to hybrid employees. The inclusive benefits survey we sent to all employees and it included questions about hybrid.
And how many inclusive
We had
out of 5,000?
Yep, we had a third, well, we didn't send it to part-time because benefits are only for full-time. So we have about 3,400 full-time employees, and I wanna say our response rate was in the mid-30s.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry I
It was
don't
closer to
have,
40 now that I think
yeah,
about it.
I'm sorry I don't have the
We
math
can get
on
that
hand.
number for you.
Yes, we had like mid-30s response rate to the survey that had 3,400.
Yeah.
And we had an even higher response rate, and I can get you firm numbers, Commissioner, I'm sorry I don't have those in hand. With the hybrid work survey that was only for hybrid workers, there was a higher response rate, but I will get you those numbers immediately.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I don't have any problem with the hybrid proposal you have. I mean, that's the way we're evolving. But I have a question. Provide annual leave buyback. What is included in those days? Is it sick days, holiday? What is it?
So currently our leave is divided into a few different components. Personal leave, no cash value. These are right now, we front load 5 days a year and you can accrue up to 15 days. No cash out value. I think there's one bargaining unit, maybe Sheriff's Command, that allows for at retirement. I think they can cash those out, but don't hold me to that. But it generally does not have cash value. Floating holidays and holidays, no cash value, use or lose. The only bank, if you will, is that annual leave bank that has a cash out value. So if I have annual leave and I find a different opportunity and leave the county, whatever annual leave bank is on the books, I take in hand as a cash payout. So many employers, as a really effective strategy, have an annual leave buyback program to keep those numbers low. Because it has a cash liability, we have to show it on our books. So finance doesn't like that because it shows a huge number, right? Everybody's unused annual leave, we have to show as a number. The other thing is, if I earn annual leave at my current rate of pay and 20 years from now I leave at this rate of pay, the cash out is that much higher. So these annual leave strategies are a way that we manage liability on our books and are good stewards of our finances because we're paying out leave at the rate it was earned. It's also a nice advantage for the employees. So annual leave buybacks, and it's very strict and written into the merit rule. It's, you can only do it if you have over 60 hours and you cannot buy down to less than 40 hours. So we make people retain a bank so they're protected. But it gives people that annual option to manage their leave time and if they want to take the cash out of unused annual leave.
And you pay it out every year then, so it's not accruing for 20 years and you have a big payout at a higher rate.
You got it.
Okay, so if somebody doesn't use their leave time, and the county buys it back, it's like they got a raise. It's high, it bumps their salary up. See, I've never been in favor of doing that.
It's kind of a win-win though, because what we're doing is keeping that cash, that liability off of our financial statements, and we're not paying for hours down the road at a higher rate. So it's a win-win in my mind.
I'm just saying, I'm opposed to that program.
Gotcha.
No matter when you pay it out. It's just, I mean, it's like insurance, basically. If they need this leave time, they take it. But it's like having car insurance. You don't get to get your money back for your car insurance if you don't get in an accident. To me, it's just, this is your salary, these are the benefits. And I don't think the turnover rate here is, what'd you say, it's 8%? I don't think that's high.
No, it's not.
It's not at all. And I remember when I was at Waterford, when I was a kid, I was a township supervisor. And the employees would complain all the time about, I can't advance, I can't do that. And you know what I said to them? You know why? Because nobody leaves. And I think we're in a good shape here. This is a great place to work, good people to work with. And I'm just not in favor of that.
Commissioner Hoffman, if I could just tease on that though, so you would prefer just the lump cash out upon termination?
No cash out.
Oh, no cash.
It's like an
No.
insurance policy. Why should you you didn't use that benefit, why should you get more money because you,
Because you didn't take a sick day or?
yeah, it's just,
We talked about this for quite a long time in my day job. I don't have the option to buy out my PTO, and my PTO does accrue far more quickly than I use it for things. And I've been at that job for several years now, and I have 5.5 consecutive work months of PTO accrued, and I can't buy it back. So when I leave that job, eventually, it's going to be a lot of PTO. And I'm not making my initial salary now, but a lot of those hours were from when I was making my initial salary. But they're going to have to pay that at whatever my termination salary is, which I guess is nice. But I was saying this because this is a nice perk that can be offered to folks who are committing to work in person. I think that's among other ideas. Commissioner Arsenault.
Thank you, Chair. As someone who took advantage of this in 2016 and got several months of extra compensation when I went out the door, it was glorious. And I can see why employees absolutely love it. But I would say that in addition to the pay, and I'm glad now the policy has changed to encourage people to cash it out sooner. In the past, you didn't have that option. I left in 2016, that was never an option. So when you got up to certain max, you had to start taking time off or you started losing your time off. But some of the advantage to that, for instance, my husband works at GM, vacation there, you use it, you lose it. And every year, there's no banking year to year. And the entire month of December is a wasted month productivity-wise, because everybody's taking their bank time off because they don't want to lose it at the end of the year. So that's one advantage to allowing people to bank their time off, is you don't have these periods of time at the end of the year where virtually the entire company's on vacation. And then the other thing that was great is that bank time becomes a short-term disability policy, essentially. And so when you have to take time off for family leave or so forth, if you have a couple or to undergo medical treatment that's gonna take you out for a couple months, and you have that couple months banked up, you now have that ability to use that time without having to take unpaid time off. So there's a lot of advantages to letting people bank that time year over year, besides simply what I ended up doing, which is cashing out when I left after 10 years, so. So I 100% support this policy, and and the banking's been in place for a very long time. And when I started in 2005, it was there, so this is nothing new.
Commissioner Gershenson.
Thank you. Good presentation, clear, really appreciate the depth you went into. So you're saying we have approximately 5,000 employees, approximately 3,500 full-time employees. What's the percentage and number of hybrid employees? Approximately.
I can do math real quick.
I think we're around 600. And it varies because every 6 months, a hybrid employee must re-enter their hybrid schedule within our Workday system. So that number ebbs and flows and changes depending on how up to date the Workday system is.
So it's 600 out of 3,500 approximately.
3,400. Yep, 3,400.
Okay, and how does flexible scheduling work? Could you just walk me through that?
Yep, so for some departments, this may work, for others, it's an absolute non-starter. But for example, some departments may say if you would like to work from 7 to 3 or 4 and shorten your lunch, that could work for us. Some may say it's fine for you to start at 9 and work till 5 while others work 8 to 4 because that works for your work life needs, getting your kid on and off the bus, or what your family needs may be, if depending on when your spouse's work shifts start. So flexible scheduling is really about that. Times of start and stop, length of breaks. In some cases, it may be a 4-10. We've heard of those where people work longer days and fewer in the week. So there are a lot of options and alternatives. Some may be great fits for departments, others, again, are gonna be non-starters, and we'll just need to work through that. But I think partnering with our departmental colleagues and helping them really fully understand what the options are and how that can serve them, and perhaps create a workspace where people feel very satisfied, effective work-life balance, and thrilled about being here and valued as an employee, that's a win.
And so the hybrid, like let's say in our department, it would really work. What are some of the departments where it doesn't work?
So I'll highlight, for example, the jail, where if you have a CO, one can't leave until the other comes in. So, your start and stop is gonna be what your start and stop is. And so for some departments, that's not gonna work.
And when you said there are incentives to come in an emergency, like what?
So if there's a work closure for weather, for example, I think it's happened once since I've been here. The way it was written in the existing merit rule left there's some question about whether or not it applied to hybrid employees, where if the campus closes, you stop working. We wanted to be clear, an advantage of working, there are a lot of advantages to working hybrid. But that also means if you can work from home and you're scheduled to work from home, keep working. That the campus closed doesn't bother you. However, there are lots of employees that need to come and plow the parking lots and take care of our safety. They must be here when it's difficult to be here, and so there are current incentives in the merit rule about earning overtime for those folks. We wanted to clarify and be sure that that was only applied to on-site employees.
Makes sense. Sounds great. Thank you.
Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know we've had lots of conversations about obviously the hybrid work policy for a couple years now, right? One of the items that has been consistently requested, and I don't believe we've received it yet, but they're the formal work hybrid departmental plans. So if we go back to the original policy, every first of the year, departments are to submit to HR their formal plan for the hybrid work policy for their employees. We've yet to see them, and I think that that's something that we should be able to have access to. I mean, we've consistently requested it in this committee.
In April, when we did our update to the committee, we included a link to a shared drive that everyone should have access to that lists all of the departmental work plans, links to those.
Can you clarify where that's at? Is it on this agenda?
No, it was
No,
in
it was
the
in
April
April.
update,
Yeah.
so.
You can send it back out.
Yeah, we'll send it back out.
Yep.
It was sent on
Yep.
April.
It's a link, so it's available online and it's all the departmental work
That
plans.
would be very
Yep.
helpful, thank you.
Yep.
And Mr. Chair, I just have one last question.
Sure.
So when we think about the impacts to the different departments, right? As we all know, we have several departments that don't utilize general fund dollars, right? So there are proprietary funds. Underneath the proposal of some of the challenges that have been identified, what has the collaboration with those proprietary departments looked like in regards to some of the challenges that has been identified by HR and the implementation? Can those departments honor some of those challenge solution items? And what kinds of conversations have been had over time with those departments?
For example, like WRC, is that what you?
WRC, Parks Department,
WRC's been a great partner in this. We actually just had a conversation with them yesterday about how well this has worked for them, the hybrid work policy. I believe their departmental work plan is one of the ones that we'll send you the link to. Yes, I think the general answer is yes, we've engaged with departments across the organization, and employees have participated in our surveys and focus groups. We've included everybody.
So not to go way deep in the weeds, but we did that ECHO survey a couple months ago, and we, as meaning my leadership team and myself, went and met with administrators and directors and told them findings, and a lot of it was part of the hybrid. Will it work for your organization? We saw people had comments saying, I would love to have worked hybrid at my facility. So we talked to the directors and administrators about it, saying that it's been notified, that people are asking about it, and we're here to help. So a lot of our conversations end by saying, we're here to support whatever you need to help you get through this part. So again, some can have it and some can't. So we got to figure that out, but we've had conversations in depth about it.
has there been any concerns been brought to the table with those departments that you've engaged in conversations with?
No, I think it was more of a surprise to me, to be honest with you, that they actually liked it and it actually worked out for their departments and their groups. I haven't heard any concerns. Again, there's gonna probably be a straggler out there that abused it, but that's where management needs to come in and say, you know what, you're abusing it and here's what you need to do. And again, we can't look at everybody. That's why we have the communication with the directors and the managers and let them know, you know what, we're doing this, you have to be onus of that. So there probably is, but some that managers have already covered.
Excellent. And lastly, what tools are given to management and departments to help facilitate the hybrid work policy? I know that's something that we've consistently talked about in regards to the successful implementation of the program. What training, what tools do department leaders have to assist them with the hybrid?
So I mentioned we did a really kind of aggressive training campaign that resulted in hundreds of employees participating that included supervisors and managers. One thing that we also implemented the last time, a year ago when you updated the policy, is to require training. The last time I asked, we had 847 employees, supervisors and managers that had completed that training. So that's more than the roughly 600. I think you may have had a situation because we have a training program for employees who work hybrid and a training program for people who supervise employees who work hybrid. So some may have double trained, which is great. So we make those available, and our training group has been pushing those out and encouraging people to avail themselves. We have a lot of available on-demand training, but we identified the specific ones that we wanted to see supervisors and employees participate in.
And they actually have to acknowledge that they went through the training before they can go into the hybrid itself.
Is this ongoing training or is this like an initial startup of the basics as we worked on implementing this hybrid policy?
So one thing that I find cumbersome, but I think it's a good cover ourselves. I mentioned every 6 months you need to put in your hybrid work schedule. Every 6 months you also need to acknowledge that you've read the hybrid work policy, that you will comply with the policies, that you acknowledge that training is required. So it's an every 6 month kind of refresh, which can be a little cumbersome, but I think it's an important, like you said, ongoing reminder.
So would you say that departments have the tools that they need to implement the hybrid work policy?
I would say so. So there's more out there. We need to provide more. I agree there is. And part of that is that we did talk briefly about trainings. We offer trainings now for, we include hybrid in there. How to have effective meetings, right? How do you have an effective meeting when you have some that are hybrid and some that are in person? So we have those different things. Again, I can't force them to come into these trainings. We offer them out. If you look at our schedule, we have multiple trainings on different topics to help people grow, help with hybrid. The ones that we can do is before you get on a hybrid policy, you have to acknowledge to this online training that they have to go through.
So the hybrid training is not mandatory.
Well, in a sense it is, because to get into doing hybrid, you have to take that training and approve it and accept it to be on that hybrid part. So technically, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. And on follow-up, we found that link and it's not hyperlinked. So it is an endeavor to share the folder. But once we figure out how to share the folder, we will re-up the folder.
Excellent, thank you.
Commissioner Gershenson.
I just wanna point out, we did ask for a long time to get access to those work plans. And so I wanna be sure we commend you for doing that, because it's easy to criticize but we wanna say that's great, that is accessible to everyone.
Any other comments? Motion on the table is recommended to the board. Madam Clerk, could you please call the vote?
Lubes,
Yes.
Nelson,
No,
Hoffman,
Yes.
you have 6 yeas, 1 nay.
Thank you very much. That one passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on then to item 9A, I would entertain a motion to recommend to the board resolution, and does it have a number? There's a number. Resolution in support. Wait, why? Oh, gosh, I'm in an April meeting, that's why it makes sense.
4451.
Thank you. It's that one, yes. Would you like to move that motion?
I sure would, thank you, Mr.
Seconded
Chair.
by Commissioner Lubes. All right, Commissioner.
Excellent, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, this is a non-binding resolution supporting the reauthorization of the Older Americans Act. With the Older Americans Act set to expire on September 30th of this year, this reauthorization of the Older Americans Act is truly to ensure critical funding for aging services for county governments specifically. As we all know, as we move past our federal ARPA dollars and our CARES Act dollars, and knowing that, counties are dealing with a lot less funds than what we're used to. So it's so important that we make sure and ensure that our aging services throughout the county truly are funded. And as a fun fact, by 2030, it's the first time in our nation's history that the population of adults 65 and older will outnumber children younger than 18. We've had lots of conversations over the past couple years, and this board and body has done some really great steps forward in providing and enhancing aging and senior services throughout the county. But this resolution specifically really breaks down more specific funding for various different areas that maybe in the past hasn't been funded. So things like older adult respite care. As you know, we've had discussions, especially with the development of the blueprint. Older adult respite care is a highly sought out service, but unfortunately, at the end of the day, due to the funding limitations, it's the one program that has historically been underfunded. So I'm really happy to see that within this reauthorization, it really puts some measures into place to hopefully make sure that counties are getting that funding to ensure these critical programs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Comments, questions? I'll say thank you for doing this. This is a timely and wildly bipartisan bill. If you look at the co-sponsors, I wouldn't picture them having lunch together. So it's nice to see them working together on this. With that being said, there is a motion to recommend to the board. Madam Clerk, would you please prompt the vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. You have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you very much. That moves on to the board. Thank you, Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Our next two items are not inherently actionable, but we could action on them if we wanted to. So I'm just gonna open discussion. We've got one thing, the appointment to the Ageways Board of Directors. We've got 7 applicants in on that one. Next step in the process is interviews. So do we wanna invite all 7? Do we wanna invite just a few of the 7 to our next LIGO meeting? What are the vibes? Commissioner Gershenson, then Commissioner Hoffman.
Well, I just noticed on one of the applications where it asks for recommendations, none were given. So either that person could be called and asked to give them, or that person doesn't get interviewed.
I must have missed that part. I was taking notes on everything else. Do you remember who that was?
I'll tell you in a minute, so just go on.
Okay, Commissioner Hoffman.
I say they all applied, we interview all of them. If they went to the trouble, I think they should be interviewed.
That's fair. Commissioner Lubes, I see you, but also I have a question for you first. Did you know you were a reference on one of them?
Yes,
Okay.
and I really think Mark would
I don't like
be
it when people don't ask me.
a wonderful candidate. He's very verbose and his application reflects that.
So it reminds you of me.
That can be good and that Penny?
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Commissioner Sindall.
If
can be good.
if you're making a motion to or to bring them all in, I would second that.
I move we interview all of the 7 who applied.
7's hardly the same number as we did for the other thing, so I think
we
that's
can make
fair.
it through.
I found the one without any. I think that's fine too. 7's really not a scary number to
Huel
me.
Johnson.
Yeah. Anyone opposed to doing all 7?
Oh, there's a motion, so I guess.
I second.
Okay, there's a motion, then a motion on the table is to invite all 7 of them in. Can I just voice with that? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. All right, let's do all 7. Did we feel good about how we were doing interviews previously? About 7 to 10 minutes for everyone? Keep it nice and quick. All right, let's just same thing that we did for the other thing. Invite them all next time and we'll talk about it.
Mr. Chair, can I make a comment?
Of course.
I think it's great that we're bringing all of them, 7 individuals back. I know that with, there's been a lot of rebranding with AAA 1B, moving into Ageways. I know that a lot of us have worked with Katie Wendell, who was the director of the planning and advocacy at what was AAA 1B. And I'm really excited to say that Stephanie Hall has officially moved up to Katie Wendell's previous position. So lots of changes going on with Ageways, and I think it's a perfect time for us to have everyone,
Chat.
absolutely. So I think it's a perfect timing, and I know that Stephanie just walked in to this position as she was the acting assistant in that interim time, but I'm really excited that Stephanie Hall has moved up into that position with Ageways. It's a great step forward.
Awesome. Cool. Moving on then to our other vacancy. This is a theme that we have often. This one is the Land Bank Authority. We've got a letter of resignation from August, just this August. So the action, I guess, here would be to authorize the board staff to do a solicitation in the standard order unless anyone has other thoughts, solicitation for applicants and all that good stuff. Commissioner Gershenson.
So this is for a person that works in government,
They have to represent a township or village.
township or village.
Yeah, so I think they could be an elected official, they could be an employee, they could be in the building department. I think it's pretty vague, but they would represent townships or villages.
So Pam, maybe for those of us that represent townships and villages, you could send us a description so that we can forward it out to those communities, cause I know they'll go out en masse, but sometimes if we add on to it.
You mean on the advertisement? We'll add, that it needs to be a township
Village.
official, township or what did you say?
Or village.
Or village.
Just not
Is
city.
that elected official?
You said
So
village?
here's exactly what it says. One township official from a township located in Oakland County, appointed by the county board, A township official must have experience with economic development, housing, planning, or real estate.
Yeah, and that's how the advertisement will read as well.
Are you hinting though that because that's going to be harder to find than a member of the general public, that you would like a more targeted recruitment than
Well,
an open
I think
invitation?
we had trouble last time, didn't we?
I think we only had 1 or 2 applicants from this type of person, yeah.
I'm just suggesting we reach out.
Yeah, I think that's really fair. I guess, Bob, I would ask you especially, because your colleagues represent more of them, not, I don't, you do.
I do.
You do. The 3 of us don't. But
Yeah, if you send me the info, I'll make an extra effort as,
And we will.
you probably will too.
okay,
Yeah, no problem.
yeah, let's definitely just bump that for folks. And then in caucus also, be sure to tell Ajay. I don't know if we have others, but everyone definitely does, yeah. So that they can
Phil
invite
Wiper
too.
and Karen Joliet
Yeah.
and look, you have represent part of Waterford,
2 townships.
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, send it to me.
Yeah, and they'll go to all the city, villages and townships as well, the
Okay, and then I'll
advertisements.
reinforce it by
Okay,
Just
reaching out
directly.
so you want me to send you, or send everyone, I could send the
advertisement,
the press
Yeah.
release,
the
okay,
press release, yeah.
okay.
And I would say the commitment, just if you're concerned, is like every other month, probably about a 1 to 2 hour meeting. So it's not too much of a commitment.
Good to know.
It's pretty easy. All right,
Say
cool.
that in the,
That was easy.
in the press release?
We should. I think we should.
Yeah.
What's that?
To say, overtly say that the commitment is 1 hour every other month, you said?
Yeah, I think that's important, cause they'll ask us that for
Mhm.
sure.
Okay.
Anything else on this one? All right, that's it on our regular agenda. Anyone from the public wishing to address us on anything on with this up, anything at all? If you could just make your way to the head of the table and identify yourself, your name and
My name-
where you live.
Okay, I'm Lori Loma, I'm from Wicks, Michigan.
Okay, and you've got 3 minutes, just a heads up.
Okay, as you're all aware of issues with Kathleen Ryan, I'm a victim of hers, okay? And my case was assigned to her in March of 2018. I'm still in the courts with supposedly her. And has not done her job correctly. The situation would have been resolved had she done her job correctly, looked at all my evidence, everything. Ryan has all of my evidence and never looked at. Judge Ryan lives extremely close to me and has stalked me numerous times. And I have an acquaintance that lives next door to her, and I have gone to her house a couple occasions where Kathleen Ryan would come out of her house screaming and yelling at me. I feel that's a threat to me, and I never reported it because I was afraid what she'd do to me in court. Okay? In court, she tells me to shut up and be quiet. She's very biased, never will let me speak. And on July 17th, 2024, I was at court with my evidence to prove she refused to look at, of course, because she wants my home. On August 29th, 2 days after she was released, Judge Holomark assigned a hearing to evict me from my home. Never has heard my case, nothing. And the judge she has assigned is Sheldon Cooper. Does anybody know who Sheldon C. Cooper is? He's from the Big Bang Theory. There is no Sheldons. And she let this paperwork go out to me when it should have been mailed. But who is Sheldon? Nobody knows. just from the Big Bang, Judge Ryan's courtroom is made up of all actors and actresses, I mean the attorneys and her. So 5 days ago, Ed Hutton announced with the WXYZ and other station, he wants to protect the people in his in the courtroom with Judge Ryan. Instead, he wants to bring up smoke screens of racism and sex of our CEO. How does racism and the lifestyle of David Coulter help with the people in the courtroom? There's more to come, I'm sure. There has to be, because we all have to be heard, because it's a very bad situation. And my home is in my name and my mother's, and Judge Ryan is trying to take it from me. And now Judge Hallmark has stepped up to the plate. Yes, I did make one complaint in 2018, and I was a whistleblower at that time, but that was the end of it. So this is how you survive when you're a whistleblower in Kathleen Ryan's courtroom.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jody White. I'd like to just ask a couple quick questions because it's always good to know our audience. I believe we've met before.
You look familiar.
Yes, and so I just want to make sure, Ms. Lubes, I think we've met. And
Could you sorry, could you state where you live?
I am out of Wayne County, but we have also probate stuff here in Oakland County. We actually have a case with the Attorney General where this case is not only going to be this county is going to be humiliated again because of what happened with Judge Ryan, but it's going to happen again with our court case because the Attorney General is engaging, which is beautiful. But before I do my 3-minute speech, I just want to make sure that, I want to clarify that this board of 19 members serve a 2-year term and your goal is and function is for policy formation, and that you guys also maintain the accountability and the delivery of services for the administration of justice, because that's what page 48 of your budget says, that's what you guys do. Because I know her case pretty well. She can't tell you the whole case. It's pretty bad. And so as I heard her speech, it's very what I want to talk about, but it's just not her story. And I wrote it out so that I'll be quick and concise. But as you're listening to this, please know that we've been battling this probate court situation for a long time. Everybody has seen what happened with Judge Ryan, right? Everybody has seen it. You guys know what we're talking about? Is that a yes? And everybody knows that Ed Hutton is the administrator there that we've tried to give complaints to for years. And now he's, ratting out stuff that is not really, in my opinion, it's a smokescreen. So I'm gonna just read my speech, please. So commissioners, I sit here today to address a crisis that has been festering in our probate court system, not just the last 5 days, but for years. The recent headlines about inappropriate conversations are merely the tip of an iceberg of injustice that families in our community have been colluding with, that families in our community has been colliding with since at least 2018. Let me be clear, the actions, or rather the inactions of Judge Hallmark, Judge Ryan, and Probate Administrator Edward Hutton are at the heart of this crisis. These individuals entrusted with the solemn duty of administering justice and protecting our most vulnerable citizens have consistently failed to address the real concerns brought forth by families in our community. Since 2018, families have been appearing in local news, sharing heart-wrenching stories of their experience with our probate court. And since 2018, desperate citizens have turned to our state legislators and our county legislators pleading for intervention. What were these families reporting? Wasn't gossip, wasn't trivial matters, but serious systemic issues of bias and prejudice that has torn families apart and stripped vulnerable individuals of their rights and assets. The real concerns that Judge Hallmark, Judge Ryan, and Mr. Hutton should have been addressing are: 1, the blatant bias in case rulings, favoring certain attorneys or guardians based on their systemic facts and perjury. 2, prejudice against family members who dare to question the court's decisions or the actions of court-appointed guardians. 3, rubber stamping our motions that drain estates, enrich a select group of attorneys and guardians at the expense of the vulnerable individuals. 4, ignoring or dismissing evidence of financial exploitation presented by the families. And 5, retaliatory actions against those who speak out, including restrictive visitation orders, punitive legal fees, or in my case, I'm a felon because of this courtroom, because of this, what happened, because 12 jurors here never got all the facts. So if you remember, I brought in the bruises that a sheriff here at this place did to me and then took all the photos. So this is retaliatory actions that they go against us. These are not isolated incidents. These are not minor oversights. This is a pattern of behavior that has been persistent for years, destroying lives and eroding the very foundation of trust in our judicial system. The fact that Judge Hallmark, Judge Ryan, and Mr. Hutton are now embroiled in a scandal about inappropriate conversations is frankly a distraction from their years of failure to address the substantive issues. It's a smokescreen that threatens to once again divert attention from us real victims, the families and vulnerable individuals who have been crying out for justice since 2018. In closing, because I'm almost done, Commissioners, I implore you to see through this diversion and take decisive actions, especially with the Senate bill when you get money and this appropriation for age board of directors. These are the people that should be working with us. They run from our group because they don't really want to deal with, they're taking from the people to fund a lot of this stuff too. So in closing, I'd like you to launch an independent investigation into all the cases handled by probate judges since 2018 with a focus on pattern of bias and prejudice in rulings. 2, review Mr. Hutton's role as the probate administrator, particularly his handling of complaints and evidence submitted by families over the years. 3, establish an independent citizen oversight committee to review probate cases and ensure unbiased administration of justice. 4, create a transparent reporting system for families to document their concerns without fear of retaliation. And 5, mandate cultural competency and anti-bias training for all probate court staff with regular assessments. There's no assessments. Like she said, his name is Stephen. I called the courts to find out what the right answer was because the joke with our advocacy group is like, okay, now what mistake have they made? They want raises, they want time off, but please, we need some review and assessment, especially in this 20 million for the circuit, 11 for the district, and 4 million to the probate courts. We put a lot of money in salaries for that. So the time for looking the other way is over. The families who have been fighting this battle since 2018, who have braved public scrutiny and legal retaliation to speak their truth, deserve more than headlines about private conversations. We deserve justice, and I'm sorry I'm getting emotional here. Commissioners, you have the power to be the turning point in this long-standing crisis. Will you continue to allow a system that has constantly demonstrated bias and prejudice to operate unchecked? Or will you take a stand for the families who have been pleading with you guys since 2018? The eyes of every family in our county are upon you. They're waiting to see if their government will finally acknowledge their plan and take concrete steps to address the real issues plaguing our probate courts. Let today be the day we say no more distractions, no more evasions, no more injustice. Let's tackle the real problems head on and restore integrity into our probate court system. So thank you. And this gentleman here came and reviewed a lot of our court. You don't remember, but I remember.
I remember.
One of the judges took out 3 seconds that they said, we don't want to talk to you people because they don't like us. We are catching them red-handed. And like I said, I appreciate employees that work hard, but you know what? There are assets that are being destroyed. Go by Orchard Lake and Grand River, it's the winery building, it's our building. Been wasted and dissipated, we're still in court since 2012. The Attorney General finally, after years of fighting, you guys have seen me, we're not stopping because it's not just us, it's now happening to other families. And now it's even national, and now it's embarrassing because all my national advocates are going, what's going on in Oakland County? You guys were a joke. We are the richest, most popular county in Michigan, and now we have judges that, and Ed Hutton embarrassing us and bringing in stuff that isn't, and to me we're getting leeway with the legislation with the guardians, and they just do this divert, you know, and we're just tired of it. So thank you for my 4.5 minutes because I know I went over, and really, you know, I've been on this for a long time, and I know a few of you guys, and really being a felon, I was a state rep candidate and didn't make my seat. I could do multiple jobs, I'm good at it, but right now the Lord wants me doing this, and I'm pleading and begging with you all to please contact me and our group and get us help with what's going on in this probate court. You guys are their bread and butter, cut their funding off and make them clean up their acts. Get these clerks not misleading. The Big Bang Theory, can I just stop right there? You know, and that's the thing, that we have to go online and look up this guy, we don't even know who he is, and we're looking at we know how to look up the guy. Oh, it's just a diminished
It's such a
error.
joke.
It's just an error, it's not an error, it's huge, you guys, it's affecting us, so, thank you. And I would love to, I have called somebody, the person won't give me their name, there's a Joanne, and we're gonna come back at the big group also and speak, so I don't know how to get a hold of, because I'd like to have a clear presentation like these people did for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, where I can give you PowerPoint presentations, show you the citizens of Oakland County that have been harmed, but I don't know how to get in those seats, and it's, I thought it's our state, it's our county, we're allowed to bring our problems to you guys. So if there's any way, if you're the chair, if you can talk with me, this is a government operation situation, and if you could contact me and tell me what the process is to get on the agenda, I would appreciate that.
Ooh, that's
Is that
a good question.
possible?
Maybe, actually, could I ask one of you guys to talk with you right now? Well, I'm gonna wrap up our meeting and we can sidebar.
And then you can talk to me later?
Yeah.
I can wait.
So, okay,
Oh, yeah,
yes,
that'd be
we're
awesome.
almost
Thank
done.
you.
We're
I
on it.
appreciate
Yep,
that.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anything else under the sun? Commissioner Nelson?
Just real fast, I know that having some new faces on our committee, and knowing that the Land Bank Authority was an authority that was new, it was created, in 2021, I think? Is that correct? Because I know it came before
I wasn't here.
So, yeah, right. But I say that because it would be really great, now that we're leading into interviews and things like that, it would be really great to get an update.
Yeah, that's a good
of
idea.
what's going on in the Land Bank Authority presently and just getting
I
some,
think we had one update, but it was almost a full 2 years ago. It was like
Correct.
right in the beginning, yeah.
May I say that I did reach out to Jill about a report, and I believe it'll be on the next agenda, October 1. She just couldn't make it for this one, but I did reach out to her.
Auspicious timing.
And
perfect.
she did give a report during budget hearings.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Anything else? I thought I saw Commissioner Taylor, no? Commissioner Hoffman?
Congratulations to Megan.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Promotion to the
congratulations.
executive branch.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We miss you.
Well, I'm here. You don't have to miss me anymore.
Anything else? Pour one out for James Earl Jones. He meant a lot to my early childhood. He's a Michigander in heart, so. That being said, I will conclude this meeting. It's 10:22 a.m. Everyone have a great day.
Thank you. Good job.